It's Halloween season, bitches! Yes! Today on the Moist channel, we are going to be doing another AQLA video. To celebrate the Halloween season, we're going to be doing something a little different today and taking a gander at a spooky Halloween game.
But Damien, you already covered horror games. That's what you do. That's what the channel is.
Yeah.
So what makes this game more Halloween or fall related?
Well, glad you asked, because this game has lesbians. And what do lesbians love more than anything? Fall. Specifically, Halloween. So yes, this counts. Alright nerds, today we're going to be taking a look at Fear the Spotlight. This here is a short indie horror game that was released this year, September 15th by Cozy Games.
Wow!
Oh yeah, baby. It's that PS1 style mixed in with that third-person horror, and oh my god, the health bar is lungs! Fear the Spotlight has a lot of things that I appreciate in the horror genre, from the puzzles, to the story, to the general spookiness that the game offers. So, without further ado, let's take a gander at Fear the Spotlight.
Do you see anyone? Nah, it's totally empty. Let's go.
Here we play as Vivian, who, with the help of Amy, we break into the school to perform a seance using the school's Luigi board. Vivian is a textbook nerd, while Amy is a goth chick, which makes it all the more fitting that we would be doing a little B&E with her. That's breaking and entering for all you nerds out there! When we reach the library, the Luigi board is locked behind the display case, along with other occult items from this occult section. I mean, check it out! We got a Book of Lost Memories! I mean, that's kind of like a Silent Hill thing, right? Like, that's gotta be like a Silent Hill reference. I mean, look at reference, you know, I gotta be honest, it got to be something about it. Same book, neighboring haunted house. Silent Hill reference. Autism aside, we find the key for the display case, and then we eventually meet back up with Amy in the back of the library. And it's here that we perform our seance. As we perform the seance, shit gets spooky. The background ambiance intensifies, and the planchette starts moving on its own, till eventually Amy disappears.
Amy, I want to stop! Amy?
From here, Vivian grabs a candle and starts wandering the library, looking for Amy. We do eventually find her, however, before we can get to her, the doors swing wildly open and she gets fucking ascended or some shit, and she gets pulled through the door before we can get to her. A fire erupts, and as Vivian is escaping, a crack forms on the side of the library, allowing us to escape. And it's here where we are transported to the year 1991. Good fucking year for music, if you ask me. Here we get introduced to the main gameplay of Fear the Spotlight, which is exploring the school, finding items, and solving puzzles, all the while getting engrossed by this horrid school's atmosphere. One thing you may notice is how we interact with the world. Fear the Spotlight allows you to really interact with the puzzles and objects in this world. Using the mouse, you can unlock locks, pull levers, and unzip bags, and a lot of other whatnots and whoodads. This is super satisfying. It makes the puzzles a lot more engaging and fun. Really, like every door or case or whatever, I couldn't help myself but fling everything open like a crazy person. Really though, I think this interactivity with the puzzles is one of my favorite aspects of Fear the Spotlight. I feel more engaged with the puzzles, and it's awesome when I get to actually fiddle with the objects on hand. Even as something as simple as unlatching a lockbox, it just gives me that bump of dopamine that I need. And this interactivity is here right up until the final boss fight of the game,
We will get to that later.
This kind of shit is awesome, and it's the kind of stuff I love in video games, and it's kind of the same reason why I really like Silent Hill Shattered Memories, where in that game, you can use the Wii Remote to really interact with the puzzles that are throughout that game. It's fucking awesome. In this first area, we find a payphone. However, it is locked behind a door with a statue. When exploring the area, we find a rose that's stuck into a grave, but whenever we try pulling the rose out, it turns out, oh my god, there is a statue clutching that rose. Looking around, we find some welding glue in this vending machine. However, Vivian, being a nerd, doesn't have any munner. Nerds ain't ever got munner. We find a toolbox. We do find a toolbox that contains a screwdriver and a broken pair of pliers, so I'm going to have to assume that we're going to need the welding glue for those pliers. It's all fucking connected! Using our new screwdriver, we do gain access to the boys' locker room, and to be honest, it's a lot cleaner than most boys' locker rooms. I'm going to have to be on the girls' side for this one. Girls rule, boys drool. In the boys' locker room, we find a drain that contains some munner, and I'm not even fucking with you. I actually did seriously spend like 5 minutes here just dragging and dropping this drain cover because I was just utterly amazed that you can just drag and drop that bitch anywhere. Fun. Y'all smell smoke? Oh my god, it's a guy with a spotlight for a head. Here we get introduced to this guy. I'm not sure he has a name, but this is the main antagonist of Fear the Spotlight. In certain areas, he'll pop up and track you down with this spotlight. You can't fight him, so you have to either run away or hide to get out of the view of his spotlight head. Now, I don't know if you know this about me, but this is a gameplay mechanic that I'm not too fond of personally. You know, the whole running away and hiding from a monster sort of deal. I have never really found these types of encounters to be that scary. Now, obviously, there are exceptions to the rule, but typically I find these types of encounters to be more annoying and time-consuming rather than scary, and unfortunately, Fear the Spotlight is no exception. Firstly, a lot of these encounters with the Spotlight guy are pretty short and only really last a room. It's not like a Nemesis type deal where you're being pursued throughout the game, which honestly makes him a lot less scarier because you know you're safe as soon as you leave that room. Secondly, when he spots you with his spotlight, he teleports you to his position and does a bit of damage to you. There were a couple times where I was right at the exit, and he just so happened to catch a glimpse of me, and he ended up teleporting me to his arms and doing a bit of damage, which was
bullshit if you ask me.
And Vivian ain't no athlete. This girl is a nerd! So her running speed is pretty slow and clunky, which kind of adds to the frustration. Now, obviously, I like this game, hence why I'm making a video on this, but I do think there are a couple things that could have made these encounters a lot more scary. For one, it would have been cool to be stalked more consistently, kind of make him more of a threat than just kind of an encounter, because you only really encounter him maybe 4 times throughout the game. And secondly, I think it would have been cooler if, instead of teleporting you to his arms, if he caught you with his spotlight, it would make like a sound or whatever, and he'd start like chasing you, and you could hear like the sound of his footsteps getting closer. Like that would give you a lot of adrenaline pumping, you know what I mean? And again, I'm not saying that to be like Mr. I know everything, but if they ever went on to make like another third-person horror game kind of deal, that's pretty much all I got for like criticism, really. But enough about me. It's about time that we heard from today's sponsor. Hi. I don't have one. After retrieving the rose, we return to the statue and the door unlocks.
Vivian, I'm relieved that you called. Please, tell me you'll make it to the theater to see me. Just don't be late for the big show tonight at the Weber Building Theater.
So, Amy is acting weird. Amy, can you stop fucking with it? So, Amy is at the theater in the Weber building. However, whenever we get there, the building is completely filled with smoke, so we can't enter yet. It's here that we have to travel to the gymnasium to redirect the power so that we can activate the HVAC system to air out all that smoke. This is a bully-free zone. Surely no bullying will occur. The gym is probably my favorite area of the game. Here we get to do an absolutely lovely puzzle where we have to use fuses and turn this fucking dial. God damn the noises! Each time we solve a part of the puzzle, we unlock more areas of the gym to explore.
Oh my god. Look at all this goop. I want to live in this goop so fucking bad.
When the pool is drained, it is revealed that it is a bottomless pit, which is honestly an anxiety-inducing image. The atmosphere of this game is actually pretty solid. There's something about it that's very Halloween-y about it. The vibe I get from playing this game is very similar to watching a Halloween episode of like a children's cartoon or kind of like a children's horror movie. It's like a PG-13 horror movie. And I like that a lot, honestly. And I'm not trying to downplay the horror of this game because there are plenty of moments that are genuinely spooky and eerie and creepy and any other words that fit in that description. And don't get me wrong, there are some dark themes underlying this game. You know, good old child murder. But it's very much implied, which kind of honestly adds to that more child horror movie experience. We're also going to give me another point for calling this a Halloween game. All right, got the last fuse for the fuse box. Now the power's diverted. And, oh, it's dark. This is bullying. If I'm uncomfortable right now, this is bullying. Now that we have access to the Weber building, there's just one more obstacle that stands between us and Amy. And it's this fucking fire. In front of this fire, we can find a manhole which leads to the school's sewer
System? I think?
Alright, and down here we can find a statuette with her face missing. And if I learned anything from Faith, is that we're gonna need a bigger cross. Here we get to explore a much bigger area with a lot more puzzles to interact with. Unfortunately, this is probably my least favorite area in the entire game. A lot of this area is doing a puzzle, taking that item you earn from a puzzle, putting it into a new puzzle, and then getting an item there, which is fine. I still like the atmosphere, and I still think the puzzles are sick. Every time you do a puzzle, you get a piece of the face from the statue, so on, so forth. However, in the halls, you encounter these spotlights that are pretty boring and impeding. I will give credit where credit is due. There's this section where you have to get a floppy disk, put it in the computer so you can save a file, and then take that file to another computer so that you can have that computer printed off a printer, you know? All the while, you're being chased and stalked by the spotlight man in the same room. Pretty cool. Hey, look at that. We got her last face hole piece. We got another face hole. Oh dear. It looks like someone has been living down here. That's horrifying. Oh shit, look at that setup though. Now, I didn't really talk about the story of the game. So from here, we're allowed to turn on the sprinklers, which allows us access to the theater. All right, fine. I'll talk about the story, all right? But only just this once, all right? Remember,
This is a quick look at, after all.
so throughout the game, you can collect these notes that kind of give off a backdrop of what might have happened in 1991. The first of these notes are these letters that you can find that are like notes that are passed between students. Most of it's just gossip about this one girl named Chrissy.
What the fuck?
The second type of note you'll find is Chrissy's diary entries. Now, Chrissy is auditioning for the school's rendition of Phantom of the Opera. And her being an unpopular girl, she gets met with a lot of ridicule and hate for this. Fortunately for her, Chrissy actually lands the role of Phantom of the Opera. I actually I don't know what this play is. I mean, I know the play, but like I don't know what happens in it. So I'm going to assume that she's the girl. She's the girl of Phantom of the Opera. That's she gets the role of Phantom Girl.
Cut that all out.
Of the opera. Fortunately for her, Chrissy lands the role as well as develops a relationship with her co-star Raoul. What I like about this story is that throughout it, you're kind of guessing as to who might the villain of this whole story might be, because you already know that at the end of this all culminates into a fire that kills a fuck ton of students. Like throughout my playthrough, every time a new character was introduced, I'd instantly pin it on them. I am the worst detective, and I'm okay with that. Whoa. Let me read that again. Oh shit. Heather Moore and Superintendent Moore, they're son and daughter. I mean, dude and the guy that's the parent. Now, the third type of note you can find is a lot more ominous, and it seems to be a sort of love note that's directed towards Chrissy, and it's signed off by your secret admirer. At first, you're led to believe that maybe this is Raoul, but this is definitely not the case, as he 100% goes missing. This leads us back to the tunnels, where we can find out that this is where the secret admirer letters were written. We can also find security cameras in places where security cameras shouldn't be, like a girl's locker room or the dressing room. That's bad. It's here we learn that it was the drama teacher that may have killed Raoul and started the fire. We learned through one of Chrissy's last diary entries that she found evidence that the drama teacher was taking pictures of her without her noticing. But remember, kids, people are innocent until proven guilty. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to let the drama teacher go. From here, we turn on the sprinklers, which allows us access to the theater, where we finally find Amy.
All up in a cage and shit.
We untie the ropes to the cage, and the cage falls, and then we have a final showdown with the Spotlight Gentleman. In this boss fight, we have to lure him to these puddles so that we can turn the generators on to electrocute him, and then after that, we can do shit to his face. This boss fight's actually pretty cool. At first, I thought I hated it, but after replaying it, it's actually kind of solid, to be honest. I love that you have to use the tools that you've collected throughout the game to, like, fuck him up, essentially. Which is pretty sick. After fucking stabbing his face hole with a screwdriver, we collect Amy and we make our escape out of the school. We make it back to the library, safe and sound. Vivian confesses her love for Amy, and Amy's just like, yeah. And then the credits roll. But who are we kidding? No indie horror game is complete without a secret little post-credit scene. You see, before we get to leave the school, there was a drawer at the very, very beginning that we couldn't open unless we had a tool. Thankfully, we have a screwdriver. And upon looking inside this drawer, oh my god! They covered it up! No! How could they do this? How could they cover this up? No!
You shouldn't be in here, Vivian.
So yeah, that's Fear the Spotlight. Short little indie horror game. Pretty cool. As stated before, I'm a big fan of the vibe that this game has to offer. I really enjoyed the puzzles, the atmosphere, and the story behind it all. I really enjoyed the puzzles in this game, and I really love how you got to interact with them. You know, I know it's not mind-blowing technology or anything, but it's certainly a lot better than I use the item. You know what I mean? While I didn't find the monster encounters to be all that fulfilling, I still think that everything else the game offered was super cool and awesome. And hell, you know, the story is also really cool with its twists and turns, and it's pretty fun. I don't know. Yeah, so that pretty much covers it. So thank you for watching this video. Happy Halloween season. And I'll see you in 2 years. Oh no, a skeleton!